Hello again. Thanks for listening or watching. This is ShrimpNet. We're on episode number 9,475,864 this season, I think. Thanks for all your feedback, particularly. I'm going to mention a few people because they're very kindly. Darren Parker, John Taylor, and John Lancaster always comment every week and say how much they enjoy it. So I'm going to name check you and say thank you. But also, please do comment, and we are happy to acknowledge all of the comments, whether it's good or bad. And I'm happy to give you a shout out. So, do get in touch. We know you're out there, but it's nice to get feedback from us. Pat Stoyles has given me some feedback, and I appreciated that. So we're moving on. Joining us this week, we have the full kit boardroom banter man in the shape of James Wakefield. Welcome back, James.
Hi, Freez.
And from the dressing room, it's another recent signing. Last week we had Nelson, and this week it's a very warm Morecambe welcome to Jordy Hiwula. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you all?
Well, we're all good. Thanks for coming on.
Good.
It's always fun to get a player's perspective on what's gone on this week.
Yeah, it is. I'm happy to be here as well.
Good. So crew, just as a matter of interest, we were 1-0 down in the Grimsby game, and I was facetiously saying it's probably better we go 2-0 down because we're better at coming back. And what happened at Crewe? Exactly that, James. Talk us through it.
It was a study in not giving up, and a study in sticking at it, and a study in when you get a goal back, just taking it back to the centre circle and acting as if you're going to win the game. And that was probably the most wonderful thing for me. The same as when we came back at Tranmere, there was a belief and an absolute confidence that we could win the game, even when you're 2-0 down against a club that at that point was sitting second in the league. I think if I was a Crewe fan or a Crewe player or the Crewe manager or anybody involved in Crewe, I'd feel pretty aggrieved because they probably should have put it out of sight. They had a lot of chances, and an awful lot of shots. And they created a lot, but if you don't score all of your chances, and then you give away opportunities for teams to open up at you, then that's what happened. And I thought that what happened once we came back into the game, it was absolutely fantastic. It was good, like believing play that we had. So, if we'd been on the other side of that, I'd feel seriously aggrieved. But it was all about belief, all about not giving up, and massive credit to the players, and credit also to Jed and the guys on the sidelines for making the changes, because I think Crewe made a couple of changes that probably smelled a little bit like complacency. And at the same time, Jed made changes that just gave us an extra angle, and suddenly that was where 3 goals came from. So massive credit to the players. I feel aggrieved if I was a Crewe fan now.
Yeah, and I'll come to you now, Joel, just as the second in command. That was some incident in injury time. How that stayed out, I'll never know, because I just think sometimes you think, we got away with one there.
Yeah, I remember. To be honest, I thought we started the game probably a little bit better. I thought the setup we had, obviously Jed had thought a bit about how we were going to play. We changed formation and we were causing a bit of trouble on the counter. Jed Garner's obviously been put through on goal. It's just gone wide. So I thought we were causing them trouble. Then I thought their goal came a bit out of the blue. It wasn't, it just, we were breaking, everybody's rushing at the pitch, and then they get the ball back and it comes back over the top. And, it's one of those, if you
hint of offside.
I watched it back. I'm not convinced. It's off camera, so you can't really tell. But I'm not entirely convinced if there was much daylight for offside. But you never know. But I thought it's one of those actually for people who like or dislike their stats. Quite an interesting one on the way their goal happened, because it's kind of been counted. It gets counted as 2 chances, isn't it? Because you've had the first one that's been saved, and then the second one that's actually gone on. So that's always the thing that's worth considering if you're weighing up the stats and stuff. But I thought after they scored, they kind of settled into things a bit. They move it around quite nicely. They keep hold of the ball quite well. And then second goal, really good bit of individual play, isn't it? He's come inside on his wrong foot. You think, it's safe, it's his wrong foot, but he bangs it in the top corner. And you just got, it happens sometimes. It's football. But then, it was almost a bit like they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and just maybe slept on things a little bit, made a couple of changes. And I thought the changes we made were positive. It was like we kind of went from that back three. We kind of went for almost like a kind of 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2 kind of thing. Really hammered down the wings, and I think when you're playing against, I think Crewe on the back three, and what you can do is you can get them behind their wing backs and really hammer it down the wings, and then Jordy coming in up front as well, alongside Jed Garner. You know, that's an extra body that they've got to deal with. And the first goal, you know, it's coming from getting down the wings, swinging the ball in. Jordy's that extra body, making a bit of movement in the box, laying it off for Joe Adams to score. And then from there, you know, you just get a bit of that momentum, don't you? And you get that building feeling and a sense of inevitability in football that can't really be explained by anything too technical. You just kind of get a bit of a gut feeling. Lovely finish from Slew for that. Really, really, really calm to slide it under the bodies, and then yeah, I can't believe Opta gave that Faz goal to Dimitri.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because obviously I saw your post on Twitter and I followed it up straight away. Well, that was Faz's goal. He connected with it. It was going in, and then it went in off the thigh of Dimitri.
Well, have you seen the goal cam? Because it looks like Dimitri's he's going to clear it with his left instep, and Faz's kind of thighs in the way, and it just Faz's leg just kind of powers past, and it goes. Yeah, so I don't know how they, especially from the way it happened, but yeah, it is what it is. He's got the goal now, and then yeah, right at the end, like you say, it was a bit mad. Even before that Courtney Baker Richardson one, they've spooned one over the bar from about 6 yards out. But you know, sometimes the footballing gods are with you, and I think I think we were worth the comeback, but we were a little bit lucky at the end. But you know what? Bodies on the line. That's what football's about sometimes. You know, you have a good goalkeeper for a reason, you know, because you want them to make good saves. And if they're not making good saves, then what's the point in having them? So Archie's made a couple of good stops at the end. I thought, you know, in the lead up to the Courtney Baker Richard one, he's gone down early, and Osterfield's kind of scuffed his shot, and he's managed to pop an arm out to tip it away. And obviously it's gone back across goal, but really good save initially. So yeah. Bodies on the line, been heroic, but we're playing second in the league. We're going to have to expect to take a bit of pressure, and we've done really well to hold out.
Well, hold that sentence and see if you can probably repeat it when we chat about the Crawley game in 2 minutes. Jordy, you must have been happy with your input coming on at Crewe. You came on when it all looked like it was shit or bust, and sure enough, bust worked, didn't it?
Yeah, I felt like, you know, when I was watching from the sideline, I just felt like we needed something going in behind. So really just focused on running in behind and trying to get behind the defense, because I felt like they were playing a high line at times as well. So I felt like when me and Jordan Salou came on, we literally just got them in behind, had movement in behind, and that's what created a lot of chances as well.
And like you say, you played your part. There was plenty of chances flying about even after you came on. I think we could have maybe had another one, and they could have had about another 3. And I was sat there watching it thinking, if this was on Sky, people would be saying, bloody hell, League Two, what? Because it was very, very open when you came on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very open. It was literally going end to end, but yeah, it was one of them games that sometimes kind of tactics kind of go out the window. You know, when you're chasing the game as well. Yeah. We literally was chasing the game for, I think it was the last 30 minutes, and once we got the first goal, I just felt like we had the belief to just go and get the second and the third. And you've seen, like, in the last few games leading up to that, when we've gone like 1 or 2 goals down, we've always fought back and come back into the game as well, which is good. We've got a good team spirit around us as well, which carried us through that game.
So moving on to Tuesday night with the Crawley game, I was very, very impressed with Crawley, James. Very impressed with them. I thought we started well. I thought their keeper made a couple of really important saves, and maybe the guy on the edge of the 6-yard box getting in the way as well. We had 2 or 3 really good chances, but then yet again the laws of physics seemed to be disapplied when their number 8 smashed it against the inside of the post, and it went right across the goal and went out for a goal kick. And literally, I was right behind that, and I was like, I do not know how that didn't go in. But obviously, they get a corner right on half time. Free header for the number 8 again, I was very impressed with. Great save by Archie Mayer. The whistle goes, and we've gone in 0-0. It could have been 2 apiece at half time. And of course, second half, they came out and a right good go. Credit to them. They didn't sit back, even at 1-0 down. Again, Archie made a couple of fantastic blocks by Faz and Jan Songo to keep us in the game, and we ended up with 3 points when even, you know, and I mean to say this deliberately, I think 6 weeks ago we'd have probably drawn that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I watched the Crawley game in Crawley, and then this one I actually watched on TV, and it was interesting the difference in my perspectives on it. But my overall feeling about Crawley, and I mean, no disrespect to them, is they feel to me like a club of individually talented players that aren't quite as good a team as we are. And like certainly like Lolos and Forster, when they get going, you're like, oh, I'm not sure these are League Two players.
Lolos particularly was magnificent.
I mean that drifting run that he did and that fantastic block from Faz was something special. But he looked that good when we played him in Crawley as well.
Yeah.
But as a team, we were better on Tuesday night, and you're right. It could have easily been 3-2 or 2-1. It ended up being 1-0, but we did create the better chances. And it's funny watching on TV and listening to it was Dave and Stuart and also David on commentary. And there was a point about 19 minutes in when David said, "This is, you know, there's not going to be much for the highlights reel so far." And then from about 30 seconds later, the chances started to come. And actually, there was a lot of big chances. I mean, like if you look at the stats, we missed 4, they missed 2. It could have been a big scoreline, but I think 1-0 was fair. I think that the reality is that we created some proper like 6-yard box chances. You should not the players should put them away, but you expect goals from those. Like when they come to foot into the 6-yard box, you just hit it and it goes in. And massive credit to Jordan again. Right place, right time, calm head, slots it home. You know, a lot of the time in games, those go over the bar. They skew off the outside of the post, but he just slotted it in a bit like he slotted it in the game previously against Crewe. So yeah, you have to say good performance overall. I think we were the better team, and I do think Crawley have got a lot of good players, but I'm not sure they quite all play together as they should do.
And looking at it in plain terms, I think, and this is just my opinion, and it was one of those. It was one of those. It could have gone either way, but both keepers. Their guy nets. I mean, you know, we were behind the goal on the A-Log terrace, and every time he went to pick his towel up, we were shouting out, "Don't bang your head."
And credit to him as well. I didn't think he was up to much when we played them in Crawley. I thought we need to get at him because he didn't look very, very confident when he was on the ball. But actually on Tuesday night, he was taking the ball, he was passing it out, and he made a couple of fantastic saves. Truly fantastic saves. So all credit to him. He proved me wrong because on Tuesday night he was excellent.
Yeah, but Joel, their keeper's got his own weather. Discuss.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I mean, if you look at his shot stopping numbers, he's best in the division by a considerable distance. If you look at his shot stopping numbers, so to see him do so well on Archie as well, he's great. His shot stopping numbers are good. No, it wasn't very much of a surprise to see some good goalkeeping on display, even that because they're both great keepers. But yeah, I thought we edged the first half. I think we did create some really good chances. I think for all these chances in the first half, I felt like they came on one big transitional moment when we've maybe been a bit sloppy on the ball, and then another well-worked set piece. I think Lolos has done really, really well to kind of run into the pack, come back around the front, lose his mark, and then get the header down. But then second half, I thought fair play, Crawley. They switched it up again. I thought they looked good first half. Second half, I thought they were really good, and I thought what they did quite well is I thought I was having a chat with my mate about it. I thought what they did well was they felt like they jumped on Joe Adams quite a lot when we got into the field. And it kind of that had been quite an effective way for us to get up the pitch. You know, getting to Joe Adams because he's so good taking the ball, turning, driving at you, and getting you up the pitch. And felt like they were kind of jumping in on him. And I wondered if that's why when Jeb made his changes later in the game, they put Joe Adams out wide on the right. I wondered if that was to get him out of that congested middle area, but still have that running ability, so he had a bit more space to do that. And yeah, but on the flip side, it helped them create chances, pin us in our half a bit. But on the flip side, you take a risk when you chuck 3 players and one guy. You take a risk, and they've tried to crowd him out when he's got the ball for our goal. Great bit of play by Jacob Badeau just before that, by the way. But they've crowded him out, but he's managed to squeeze it through to Joel Senior on the right wing, who's got
And Joel had acres.
yeah,
acres.
acres, and he's hitting absolute peach of a ball. And again, Jordy getting in there, and look, it's not all about the person who's scoring the goal. There's a whole team move there, and it's about making the movement and forcing it, because it's a great ball, but if Jordy's not in there, the keeper's probably just going to gather it up and forcing that bit of indecision, and then Jordan at the back post sliding it away fantastically, and then after that, yeah, just dug in really, really well. A couple of heroic blocks, but again, it's that time of the season. I think Crawley are a pretty good side, to be honest, and I thought they were okay at their place, but I thought they were quite a lot better on Tuesday. And
yeah, I agree.
It was a good game, and there was some good football playing. It was a good watch, even if it was a little bit heart and mouth at times.
Yeah, it was. You're right. And Jordy, you were. Yeah, am I right in thinking that their keeper got a touch on our goal? You were just about to pounce there, and you sort of forced him to come out. And did he touch it, or did you touch it?
Yeah, he literally just got a toe to it as the balls came across, because I tried to get across the near post, and yeah, he literally got there literally a split second just before me, and I was just about to touch him, but Salou was doing what Salou does and following in at the back post, which was good.
Yeah, but you were going that fast. You were in the back of the net when he scored.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, literally, I looked behind me and then the ball was in the goal. I was like, oh.
I'm pretty sure we could hear you on the goal cam as well, Shane. Oh, just the keeper's got the touch away.
Yeah, I think I was. I was like, oh, but as soon as I seen it in the goal, I was like, yes, someone's put it in. So no, it's like you said, it's a team game. There's loads of little things that happen leading up to the goal, and me just trying to get across the front post, put the keeper off, and then Jordan was there to slow it away as well.
And there was some, shall we say, first half particularly, there was some interesting refereeing going on when they were allowed to get away with some really, really not nasty tackles, but just stopping attack tackles, which I would class as being, well, somebody who beats you, you either let them go or you chase them, or you think, right, well, I'm going to leg you. And there was about 4 or 5 where they legged our player after they'd been beaten and left for dead. And eventually, after the 5th one, he booked somebody. And then the first time we did it, he booked us. And I was like, that's the totting up effect. And that's how referees go, isn't it? They think, oh, I'll see if it stops and see if it doesn't.
Yeah.
But when you come back...
I didn't think he was too bad, the ref, actually.
No, I didn't. I'm saying he was bad. I just thought the first half he let them get away with.
Maybe, yeah. There's maybe a couple. He's given 2 yellow cards to Crawley in the first half, but I think that actually there was some people pointing out actually he did bottle the red card. Actually, it was that right when he cropped down. When he cropped Senior, I think it was at some point in the second half, or Adams. I think he bottled.
He went to his pocket, didn't he?
And then he went. I'm actually going to get my little spray.
Yeah, that's right. And he went, but he went to it, but his spray was in his other back pocket. But he went to his pocket for his card, and then realised, oh shit, I booked him, and went to his spray in his back pocket. And I was like, oh, I thought he was going then. And the player himself thought he was going. If you watch it again, the player himself was like, oh, he's got his spray out. Which is, I suppose, is a relief, but there you go. But if we sat on the podcast last week and said Crewe away is going to be a really tricky game, and Crawley at home is going to be a really tricky game, and we've got 6 points. But yet again, strangely, I think there's some sort of general rule that only Doncaster know about, that we're only allowed to win by 1 goal, but Doncaster let us win by 5, and everybody else, it's been 1 goal. We've won 15 games and we've lost 11. And we're still on a minus goal difference, because when we get hammered, we get hammered. But when we win, we only win by 1 goal. What's that all about, Joel?
I don't know. I think Sutton was probably the biggest example of one we could have maybe put them to the sword a bit more. Just how it falls sometimes, isn't it? I think sometimes with the teams that you face in this league and the budget they have, I know they haven't always been perfect and consistent. Teams like Notts County, but
who we're well above now.
Yeah, but you could catch them on a good day. They've got Dan Crowley and David McGoldrick in there as their kind of inside attacking forwards. And I mean, to be honest, I think it's quite an achievement having that front line and being mid-table
Yeah, you're right.
It's quite an achievement of bad defending. But yeah, you know, such as the attacking strength of some of the clubs that they've been able to afford this year, that yeah, you are on a bit of an off day and they get their blood up with a couple of early goals, then I think that they will they will more than likely run right. You know, Harrogate has seen it, you know, a couple of times with an 8-0 and a 9-2. You know, it's just I think
And they were in the playoffs 3 weeks ago.
yeah, exactly. I think sometimes, you know, especially if you're not, if you're kind of a bit more of a counter-attacking style, and you might face a few more shots, but rely on the resiliency of your defense sometimes. And if the floodgates open, the other team are really, really on it with their finishing, then I guess, yeah, maybe go that way, can't it?
There's a couple of interesting stats that I haven't got up in front of me right now, but I was trying to work out whether we are the team that's come back the most in English football in the last 6 months, because it feels like we probably are. Like it feels like we've come back from losing positions and apparently like dead positions. So it feels like we are like the never say die team. I couldn't find that, so hopefully somebody will like stick that up on the EFL Zone or NTT20 or something.
There we are, listeners and watchers. That's
you
your
go.
task for this evening.
What I did find is the percentage of goals that we score in the last 15 minutes of games. And again, don't quote me, but it's either 20 or 25% of all of our goals are coming in the last 15 minutes of games. So we are that team that is fitter and stronger and brings on subs and changes things and just doesn't give up. But we scored an awful lot of goals in the last 15 minutes of games. It's ridiculous. And we do it away and at home, which is it's a good thing. That says we've got a fit squad. That says we've got a good attitude through the dressing room, and it says that no matter what, we're going for it, and it's a positive thing. So I found that I couldn't find out whether we come back more than everybody else.
That's good. I'm impressed with that. Somebody will no doubt check that and let us know. But please do.
Yeah, when my boss asked me, asked why if I'm busy tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. So anyway, we're moving on, and we've got the small problem of Hollywood FC on Saturday at home, James, and it's going to be quite fun. This, and I'll completely and utterly come clean. The Sutton game when Jordy made his debut. We were in a situation where I was at the former Players Association lunch and I was helping organise it. And I went down to the office. And when I went down to the office, Nicky was in the office, busy fielding phone calls at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And this was when Wrexham had announced that the away allocation would be 1,600 and we'd only available to season ticket holders. What was Nicky doing on was it the 11th of Feb? The 11th of February at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday before a Sutton game, she was picking up the phone to Welshmen pretending they live in Lancaster wanting tickets.
She was doing that from the 11th of Feb through to like today, and she'll be doing it for another couple of days.
I know. Yeah. It's madness. Literally, I was listening to her and she was like, yes, so what's your postcode? And they were like, why do you need a postcode? I said, well, if we're going to send them to you, and I could hear the bloke's voice, and it was as Welsh as ever. And she was like, "Have you got an LA postcode?" Have I got a what? Have you got an LA postcode? You must have a Lancaster postcode for me to send it to you. And he was like, "Well, why will you not sell me a ticket?" She went, "Because you sound like you're a Wrexham fan." No, I'm not a Wrexham fan. And I'm like, she just spent all afternoon answering the phone to Wrexham fans. So we should be in a situation where we're approaching Sunderland crowd when we played them the last season in the last game of the season in League One in our first season. We should be, I would imagine, as near as capacity as can get, James.
Yeah, it's got to be at capacity or as near as capacity as you can get, exactly as you say, because of all of the safety requirements. Unless we were to fill our ground entirely with home fans, which you're not allowed to do. We'll never get to the actual listed capacity on Wikipedia, but we'll fill every seat that's available to be filled on Saturday. I think it should be a really cracking atmosphere, and yeah, it should be a really good game as well.
And Joel, their away form isn't particularly brilliant.
No, it's not great. You know, they've been really, really dominant at home, but on the flip side, they've been not so good away. I think. Obviously, the recent win against Accrington, you know, kind of is quite a good indicator of that. I think they've lost 2-0 away at Accrington, but obviously in the return fixture on Saturday, they've they've won 4-0 at their place. So, you know, they do appear to be a bit of a different animal. You know, I guess at the end of the day, teams generally are better at home. Obviously, it's quite exaggerated with them, but yeah, it's almost like, you know, when you go away from, I think you're going from an environment when you've got, because they do have a very big crowd backing them, and then suddenly you're in a tight, some of the smaller stadiums around the league, you've got quite a tight little closed compact stadium, and you know the opposition fans are on top of you. Maybe they deal with it quite as well, but at the end of the day, that doesn't stop the fact that they're a very good team. They've been playing in a kind of pretty solid system for a few years in a row now under the same manager. They've got a lot of quality in their squad, and you got to be wary for them. You know, they've got, you know, they get the ball forward relatively quickly. They've got some good, you know, they've got good wing backs who can take the ball forward, cross the ball. They've got threats in the box: Mullin, Palmer, Dolby, whatever. Got threats coming in from midfield like Elliot Lee and stuff. You know, and oh yeah, he's got Stephen Fletcher to bring off the bench, for God's sake. It's just like, you know, it is a bit ridiculous. Jack Marriott now as well, haven't they? So you know, they've got some players with them, but you know, they've not been great away from home. We can get on top of them. We've got players who can hurt them, and yeah, it'll be a really interesting game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the atmosphere. And yeah, I think we do owe them one after after the 6-0. You know, I think.
Now, you see, now he mentioned it then, Jordy. I was just going to come to you now and say, just a quick history lesson. Jed wasn't even the manager then; he was caretaker manager. Derek had left to go to Ross County, as you know, and Jed had taken over. And all you need to know about the game was it was 6 lucky breaks against the run of play, Jordy. Honestly. So, what do you think for Saturday?
I think you know, these type of games are the ones that you really want to play in against the teams in and around the top, just kind of see where you are. We know it's going to be a tough game. You've seen their record away from home; they don't really do great away from home. But hopefully it works in our favour and we can just get 3 points yet again.
I think they've scored about 32,000 at home and 16 in 18 away games. I think like I say, I'm doing James's. I haven't got the stat in front of me, which is a good excuse. I'm going to use that every week now.
Yeah, no, but I think they're a really good side. You know, yeah, they do get the ball forward quickly, and obviously they've got a lot of good forward options as well that start and that come off the bench as well. So we're just going to have to keep them quiet, and then hopefully we can put the ball in the back of the net down the other side of the pitch.
Yeah, well, I think that Slew's on such a run at the moment, James. He's when he came on the other night, he was like he first of all, Gordon pulled him down for a certain penalty, which he got a free kick for, which was absolutely incredible because he got past him and he pulled him back, and the ref gave them the free kick. Then he managed to elbow their centre half in the goalies. And then he went up for a header and managed to smack their middle midfielder in the face, and he still didn't get booked. And I'm like, bloody hell, he's like Nigel Benn tonight. There's just people lying on the floor crying every time Jordan went anywhere near him. And obviously, he scored 3 games on the bounce, so he's hit a hot streak. So, I mean, he seems to like coming off the bench, James, doesn't he?
I think he's just really enjoying his football at the moment. He's having the season of his career. Or certainly the last few years of it, and it's wonderful to see. It's funny again. I wasn't at the game on Tuesday, but I was listening to the commentary, and Donald Love said that nobody likes Jordan Slew running at them in training, and actually at the moment in the games on Saturdays and Tuesday nights, nobody likes running at them. He's just a unit. And he gets in the right place at the right time. It's really good to see. I think that there's a few players due a goal. There's a few players who've been like on the edge of scoring. And maybe one of the best things about the season so far is just how many people are scoring our goals. We're not reliant on anyone. And there was a bit of a sort of unsettled talk when people saw the lineup on Tuesday night. But Jed's actually said it in pre-match interviews. He's using everybody. Everybody's getting an opportunity. Not least because we need everybody to get an opportunity because we've got a small squad than everybody else. We can't afford to just play our 11 like some clubs can. And yeah, the goals are coming from everywhere at the moment, which is really good. And there's a couple of other players who are probably due one, including Jordy.
No pressure, Jordy. No pressure. But yeah, you're due a goal. You had you looked a bit like shocked, you know, when Slewey's cross hit the bar and came down for you against Sutton, and you looked like shocked that it ever arrived, and it was like shit. And then it was like, did you think on that moment, do I hit it first time? Do I take a touch? What do I do? Or did you just think, oh bugger it, I'll hit it, and then sliced it?
No, it's as they put the cross in, I was literally watching the ball, and then I could see it was gonna touch, like hit off the crossbar, but I was trying to picture where it will drop, and literally as it's dropped in front of my feet, I've just tried to hit it first time because I've seen all the defenders trying to run, like to trying to block the front post. So I tried to like hit it across goal back from where it came from, but the way I caught it, I didn't catch it too well, and that's why it just kind of tripled wide.
The word I used was skittered. It skittered wide.
Yeah, skittered wide. Yeah.
But so from your point of view, the goals are coming from all over the place. It'd be nice for you to bag one Saturday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will be, but you can see like we're using, like the gaffer's using everybody. Everyone's kind of getting the opportunity, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. And goals need to come from everywhere because obviously you have your strikers and your forwards that score goals, but you can get goals from centre backs, from corners and free kicks and whatever else. So it's actually good that the goals are getting spread around the team.
And there's some consternation from some quarters about the club denying Wrexham the ability to film in the dressing rooms, etc., etc. James, talk us through that one.
A while ago, they said, "Can we film at the game?" But it came with all manner of requirements on their part, access all areas, like things blocking people's view, restricted attendance because they have people in the stands. And I think if you look at it honestly, and I don't resent what's going on in Wrexham, and I think it's wonderful for them as a club and good for them. But they're not interested in Morecambe. They're not interested in the march that's going on the prom. They're not going to film that or show any coverage of it. The decision was made a lot of months ago. So I'd say that for any fan who thinks that we've denied the TV access because we don't want coverage of the march, I mean, that couldn't be less true, and it's absolute nonsense. I'm personally in support of a march of support for the club, and I'm personally in support of anything that promotes the fact that the club's for sale and attracts new ownership. I'm also personally in support of a march that draws attention to the ridiculous financing that's in football. But like on that topic, the idea that Wrexham, who are financed by a Hollywood millionaire and who would not be able to spend the money that they're spending at the moment were it not for that, and unfortunately may not be able to continue spending if people lose interest in a couple of years' time, are going to pay any attention to a march which draws attention to a club that's trying to do things sustainably and properly, it's just not realistic. So like the decision was made a long time ago. It was made because we don't want to have a restricted capacity. We don't want people not being able to see the game because of TV gantries and the like. And we don't want a whole lot of TV prima donnas with access all areas running around the club when actually we're driving for the playoffs and we're trying to get into League One. And we couldn't give a damn about a Disney documentary. So that's the decision. It's nothing to do with the march. Actually, as we all said at the fan forum, we're all in support of a march that is in support of the club and promotes the fact that the club's for sale. And the TV circus, they can do one. They can go and do it somewhere else.
And on that note, we'll move on. I think that's beautifully put, James, and I agree with every word. I don't have an issue with Wrexham at all. I think it's what's happened to their club is it's their fans' dreams, But somebody came on and said, "Oh, you just," and I've nothing against Wrexham, but you're in this position of power now where they're saying, "Oh yeah, we're getting great attendances." It doesn't take a genius to go back and look through your Rothmans football yearbook and see when they were bottom 4 of League Division 4, as it was, they were getting 2,500 every week. So it's like, well, why weren't you going then if you're going now? And it's like, it's obvious because they haven't got the Hollywood and they're not top of the league and spending money.
I'll say this in support. Like the guys who've invested in Wrexham, they seem to have the club's best interest, the town's best interest at heart. They're taking an interest in more than just the football club. So as much as it slightly annoys me that people call it a fairy tale when it's actually just sport success, they seem like the sort of people that if ever the interest does wane, they'll try and do right by the club and the town, and I hope that's the case. But the fact is that the amount that Wrexham is spending at the moment is not sustainable. for a normal Wrexham, normal League Two or League One, or even lower Championship club that hasn't got that backing and the ability to draw in huge amounts of sponsorship revenue because there's a Disney show about it.
They've gone on record saying they've spent 20 million. I mean, that's just outrageous amount of money to get out of the conference and get where they are in League Two. But fair play to them, and I don't begrudge them it. Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. I just hope that they leave it in good shape and don't leave it like in a horrible position to drop down.
No,
that'd be really
it would be very sad. You're right. Anyway, we'll move on. So we've got Jordy with us now. England under-18 international.
Yeah.
So you were at City. So you were at City, but let's chat about the pig in the poke here. You were at City as a youth. You scored a load of goals for their youth teams and what have you. And you're a United fan. How did that happen?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. I think it's because obviously growing up where I grew up in Manchester.
Whereabouts in Manchester?
It's an area called Hume. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I know Hume, yeah. I know Hume.
Yeah,
well, that was Hume is not that far from bloody Main Road. Don't give me that.
Yeah, but basically the area Hume is in between Main Road and Old Trafford because it's the area in between both of the stadiums. But I just grew closer to supporting Man United. But obviously over the years, as you go through the youth teams and whatever else, I went to a lot more City games, being ball boy and little things like that. So it was good coming through the youth system, getting to see all the players like literally up close and personal.
Yeah.
Obviously going through into the academy and the under 18s, under 21s and whatever else. So yeah, it was just like having and literally seeing the club from being around the bottom of the Premier League to winning its first ever Premier League. That was actually unbelievable.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And it's funny because there's in a similar sort of way to following on from the Wrexham thing, there's a lot of resentment from a lot of fans against City because they say they've bought all their glory. But if you look at what they've spent since Pep took over and what United have spent considerably more and not in that. So it's a strange one. As a United fan, that's you've had a procession of shall we say, you've had a procession of sticking plasters, and you need somebody to go in there and do a Fergie job, don't you? Really?
Yeah, you do. Obviously, when you look at City, they've done things really well. From literally from the start, the way the process, the team bringing through, they're still bringing through youth players as well, which is good. And it feels like they literally bring in what they need instead of just bringing in anyone and everyone. So they're doing really well. They won the treble last year. They'll probably go on and win the treble again this year, but it's just one of them things.
So let's talk about you now. Obviously, England under 18s. You had some really, really successful loan spells away. Obviously, a couple of spells at Walsall, and you've had a pretty much success. A good spell at Fleetwood, Bradford, and I ended up counting all your clubs, and we're unlucky 13 for you, aren't we?
To be fair, when I signed for Morecambe, I was looking through all my clubs, all the clubs I've been at, and I was thinking 13 clubs at the age of 29, that's a lot of football clubs. But I'm one of them people that enjoys the challenge, going to other different teams, meeting other players, managers and whatever else as well. I'm playing on the different styles as well, which I've really enjoyed. And I'm one of them people as well, I can go into a changing room and just integrate with anyone and everyone. So it's always been easy for me to just go into different changing rooms.
Well, yeah, you can certainly say that again. I think your CV certainly CV backs that up, no problem. But how did it come about? How did you end up with us at the Mazuma?
Well, I left Ross County around September time. About September time, came back to England, and then I was just kind of looking around and seeing what kind of offers that I had coming up, and it went a bit quiet for a few months, and then I had the opportunity to come in to train with Morecambe, And because I've always had kind of friends that have played there and whatever else, I've always kind of kept an eye on Morecambe just to see how they're doing. And when I got the opportunity to come in, I just took it with both hands. Came in for around 2 weeks, trained with the lads, met the lads, and then yeah, the gaffer offered me a contract till the end of the season, and I was really happy to sign it.
So go on then, name drop. Who have you known who's played for us?
I know Carlos Mendes. To be fair, I was at the playoff final when you got when Morecambe won against.
That was a terrible game. Absolutely terrible game.
It was a hot day.
It was. It was red hot. It was red hot.
Yeah,
Awful game, but there you go.
Yeah, I was at that game actually. I was in London for that weekend, and the game just happened to be on in that weekend. So, we ended up coming to the game, and Carlos actually scored behind the goal that we was at, which was unbelievable.
Oh, you were in Morecambe then?
Yeah, I was in the Morecambe, yeah.
Hey, it was meant to be.
So, yeah, it's kind of just everything's just kind of fell in line. But yeah, I know Carlos really well. I know Notumbo Masanko. He was here a few years back. He's been coming to the game. He's been to the last 2 games recently. Obviously,
he had some time at Wrexham, didn't he?
Yeah, he had time at Wrexham and Morecambe as well. And I also know, obviously, Christian and Mbulu that sadly passed away. I was really good friends with him as well. So I've always kept an eye on Morecambe and how they do.
Well, I'm impressed you were at Wembley. That bloody hell, that was meant to be, wasn't it?
And I think it was one of the first games, kind of after COVID when fans were coming back in.
It was.
Yeah, so it was just good to go and watch a football match. And it just happened to be a
which was dreadful, but never mind.
Yeah, it just happened to be a Morecambe game, but it was a good day out.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's probably going to be our headline. That's going to advertise you being on this here podcast, because I was like, he was in our end at bloody Wembley. It was like, well, there you go. Right, Joel, I'm going to pass him over to you.
I know, yeah. Out of all the things I might have been expecting to find out tonight, you mentioned Morecambe end. Wembley. It was a day I regretted wearing jeans instead of shorts. That was I
had shorts on.
But it was quite dour in Lancaster, but it's always dour in Lancaster, so I should have anticipated, as Jordy's probably found out. But yeah, I'm just actually going to go back to you coming through at Man City, because it was quite interesting. You mentioned what it was like coming through there. So were you there when in 2008 when the club first got bought out then?
Yeah, I was I think I was under 13s back then, so we didn't really understand what was going on. Because when you're in the academy, things that are happening upstairs, you don't really know what's going on. You're just there to play football. But I remember we used to be at the old training ground, and then obviously gradually start hearing whispers about, oh, there's going to be a new training ground and things like that. So as you got older,
Platt Lane?
Yeah, Platt Lane. Yeah. As we got older, obviously things started coming aligned, and then before you knew it, the move to this new training ground that's literally across the road from the stadium. And then from there, they've literally just gone up and beyond.
Yeah, because I remember reading, wasn't the old training ground not the greatest, and then you've moved to Etihad campus, which is very, very snazzy.
Yeah, if you compared, obviously, if they didn't have the old Etihad, obviously that training ground would have been a good training ground, but that Etihad campus is unbelievable. Like for the academy players going there to train every day, it must be a dream. So
then, going on from that, obviously, Freez has mentioned you've had quite a lot of time on loan, and a lot of very successful ones. It's always interesting with loan tours, I think, because I think you get. I've heard some players from respect. I think it was somebody. I can't remember who it was on Sunderland until I died the latest season, saying that they found all the loan spells quite unsettling. But for yourself, and you say you like a challenge, it seems like going to lots of different places and turning your hand to different teams and different styles. It seems like that's something you settled into quite well. Yeah, I think from an early age, I kind of knew that I wanted to play first team football, because the thing for me was to play in front of crowds, big crowds. And I remember going, I think my first ever loan was to Yeovil, and it was just unbelievable, like having people singing your name and chanting your name and things like that. That's what I've always wanted. So yeah, that was an unbelievable experience. Even though the loan didn't go too well, it was just like, wow, I want more of this again. So that's when I ended up going to Warsaw for the first
for the first time. And I remember going there, and they qualified for back then it was called the Johnson's Plate Trophy. They got to the final actually, but I didn't know. So obviously, I've signed there, and I've looked through the fixture list, and I've seen Bristol City, Wembley. So I was thinking, surely not.
You got on, didn't you? You got on in the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I was thinking surely not. So I must have asked one of the players. I asked one of the players, "Oh, are we playing at Wembley?" And then they said, "Yeah, we got to the final." I was like, "Whoa!" Obviously, it's a dream for any kid to play at Wembley. It's like the most iconic stadium in England. So I remember going there, and I think there was around 78,000 at the stadium, and it was just like all these Warsaw fans just came out of nowhere. I didn't know that they had that much support, but they just came out of nowhere. But it was just an unbelievable day just to play there, even though we lost the game, but it was just unbelievable.
Blimey, yeah, no, I bet, and I think do you actually reckon whichever player you ask, then I bet he's gone away. It's like, I can't believe what with this lad we've just signed on loan from Man City. He's coming here, doesn't even know we're at Wembley.
Yeah, nothing. Obviously, I didn't really know. I think that was my second loan move, so I didn't really know anyone that was there. But I just remember, it was the day before I signed. Actually, I was looking through the fixtures, just to see what teams they've got left because it was the second half of the season. And I just seen that and I just thought, wow, unbelievable.
Get me the
Where do I
pen.
sign?
Yeah.
But so when it comes to these loan spells, because you kind of mentioned you were quite keen to go out on them. I'm quite interested in what's the kind of process. Do you go to like the loan manager at City and you're like you kind of banging on his door and saying, you know, send me out to find me a club, you know, I want to get some experience, or was it, where does it come from?
I think things have changed now, but back then it was a case of we used to play a lot of games against League One and League Two teams. You know, during the international break. If teams didn't have a game that weekend, our under-23s team at the time, we would have played games against like local teams like Oldham, Rochdale, and Bury at the time when they were in League One, and things like that. And a lot of football scouts used to come and watch, and then they would just inquire about different players. So that's how players back then got an opportunity to go out on loan.
So I guess that's quite handy, really, because you know it's all very well and good watching a Premier League academy game when you've got 20-year-olds versus 20-year-olds, but
Yeah.
you know those games are games when you're pitting yourself against proper seasoned pros, aren't you? So what was that like, kind of going up against seasoned pros for the first time?
Yeah, it's completely different. Just the football, just the build up to a game as well. Because you know that you play Saturday, you play Tuesday. You got to learn how to recover. I'll literally go again because I remember signing at Warsaw. We played Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday. So it was one of them. Like it is brutal on the body, but over time you learn how to adjust and playing the games.
So in terms of kind of playing the game itself, obviously being a striker, movement is always key. And I think one thing I've noticed when you've come on in the games, I think I've mentioned it already. You know that, I mean, first off, the Grimsby chance, I know it's gone wide, but it's been in that spot in the first place. That's the important thing. And then, you know, there's I thought, you know, the first goal away at Crewe, you know, it's getting in the box, being in the right area, and then obviously being about an inch away, you know, Corey eyes stood, you know, away from tapping it in against Crawley and Tisa. So what the kind of, without giving away your entire play, but what kind of tricks and what kind of things do you try and do are you trying to do to try and get away from defenders in the box?
It's just, you know, sometimes in the box it can get congested, so it's just about trying to find that half a yard, wherever it is, whether it's running towards the front post, running across the keeper, running behind the keeper, just trying to get that literally half a yard that you can get a shot off or get a flick that can go on, go towards goal, and just little things like that. You know, I feel like my movement around the box is really good. It can be better, but you know, I'm still trying to work on a few things because I've not played in a while as well. So it's about getting that it's about getting the match fitness now. I feel like I'm fit, but I think once I get a run of games, I'll be even fitter and even sharper.
So I think from what you just said there, it sounds a bit like it's not necessarily about like there being one hard and fast rule to get away from a defender in the box. It's about almost like having a box of tricks, knowing when sometimes dropping off towards the penalty spot, sometimes hitting the near post, sometimes peeling off. Is it about just having that box of tricks and then being able to interpret the situation around you and apply each different one?
Yeah, because especially wingers and fullbacks, when the ball's coming from out wide, it comes from different angles as well, whether it's coming from literally on the byline or deeper as well. So it's just about trying to get your movement right for when the ball comes in and you're in the right position to try and slow it away.
And I guess as well, actually, now you say that, wingers and fullbacks, that they some of them, they'll have different preferences, won't they, for how they hit a ball.
Yeah, they will. But it's just about working on it in training with them as well, and kind of watching what they do and trying to work off it as well. Because sometimes you can tell them to do one thing, but maybe they're not comfortable in doing it. So if you can kind of just work off if they want to put a low ball in, okay, get across the front post and try and slow it in. But if they like to stand the ball up, you can peel it off and go towards the back post. So yeah, it's just that, like you said, just having a lot of tricks in your book in your box.
So kind of looking at your experience as a whole, obviously I kind of in my head I had you as a seasoned EFL player. So I've gone to look through your career, and actually this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time you've played in League Two?
Yeah, it's the first time I've played in League Two. Obviously I played a lot of League One games throughout my career, but it's something that I'm actually enjoying. There's a lot of teams that I've never played against before as well.
You can pack that in, enjoying yourself. You're not here to have fun.
No, there's a lot of teams in this league that I've never played against, so it's been a good challenge as well, just playing against different teams, different styles of play. The team's doing well at the moment as well, so it's good to come in when the team's doing well, and I feel like the only way is up now for us. You see in the last a lot of games as well, we've gone 1 or 2 goals down, but that doesn't stop us from fighting. Everyone wants to fight for the team, and we'll do everything we can to try and finish as high as possible.
I think talking of that fighting spirit, what's it like on the pitch? When you're getting that first goal back, because I think it's something that I always enjoy about football. Sometimes you do just get an inevitable sense that something's going to happen, and we've been obviously as a fan, we've been on the receiving end of it. I'm sorry to bring this up actually, but obviously one of the biggest ones I think I've got to mention is the Doncaster game a few years ago that we played, coming back from 3-0 down at half-time, which I believe you were part of that Doncaster side.
Yeah, I was playing in that game. I remember that day clearly. Actually, I think it was the first time when I was at Doncaster. It was the first time we actually scored 3 goals in a game.
In one half, you were 3-0 up at half time.
Yeah, and it was 3-0 up at half time, and I think a few of the lads were like a lot of us were shocked because we've not scored 3 goals all season, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know what the gaffer in that changing room said at half time, but
it was Toombs. It was all Toombs.
Yeah,
Toombs came out and just basically decided that we were going to win 4-3 and made it happen.
Yeah, Morecambe literally just came out fighting, and just every 1, 2, 3, and then Toombs' goal was unbelievable. Like the strike from the edge of the net. Yeah, it was a good goal to win the game.
Would you believe that was my wife's first season as a season ticket holder, and she thought the game was absolutely magic, but she complained because all 7 goals were down the other end.
That was that period where we only scored goals at the away end, wasn't it? There was like 3 or 4 games either side, and we only scored goals at the other end.
Yeah, all bloody 3-0 at half time, and you were kicking that end, and then we got 4 kicking that end, and she was like, "I really enjoyed that, but can they not score down our half?" There you go.
That's great stuff, Jordy. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know what to say, Jord. I don't know. Have you set yourself a target of like, okay, I want to play as many games as I can, and I've got a target in my head. If I play 10 games, I score 3 goals, or what is it? What do you set yourself that, or do you just take each game as it comes?
No, I think coming here, I've literally just took it each game as it comes. Because I'm still kind of getting up to speed, kind of playing catch up. But for me, it's just literally taking it game by game. Obviously, the next one's Wrexham on Saturday. They're going to bring 15, 16, maybe even 1,700. people calling up trying to get tickets in the home end
Exactly.
and whatever else. But no, I think especially Saturday. Saturday is going to be a great atmosphere, and both fans. I think both teams are going to put up a good fight, but I hope that we're the ones that come up with the 3 points.
Well, we've got a bit of a Welsh connection because obviously following on from that, we've got quite a tricky away game at Newport, which that's not going to be easy, James, because the simple fact is they've been on a good run and then hit a bit of a sticky patch, but during their cup run and playing United and what have you, they put up a really good fight. They look a decent side.
Yeah, they are a decent side, and nobody wants to go to South Wales on a Tuesday night. And actually, apart from me, I'd love to go, but I can't. But like generally speaking, playing in Newport on a Tuesday night is challenging. And they're a good side. There's so many clubs in the middle of League Two that are capable of beating everybody else, the top and the bottom. It's a wonderfully competitive league this season.
And what are you expecting, Joel? They're not going to do us any favours, are they? Because as James just said, they can put themselves right back in the mix by beating us.
Yeah, and as Jordy knows from his Wembley exploits with us, they may have Newport have a few reasonable reasons to be maybe a little bit aggrieved with ourselves over some questionable refereeing decisions. But yeah, we played them early in the season. They're a good side. They're pretty solid, hard to break down, decent set pieces, pretty good on the counter attack. They've got
Ryan Delaney, Aaron Wildig.
What a player Aaron Wildig is. But but yeah, they're a good side. But again, we've been quite a good way away from home, haven't we? And be interesting.
Put it this way: if we go 2-0 down Tuesday night, I'll be quite confident.
yeah, if we just fancy conceding another couple of goals, keep it exciting. That's all what we want to see.
Yeah, so no pressure, Jordy. If you're 2-0 down at Newport on Tuesday night, don't worry about it. Just go, it's all right, Gaffer, stick me on. We'll stick me and Slewy on. We'll sort it for you. You never know, do you? But there you go. We'll see. So final thing to talk about is obviously the march itself. They're calling it, well, some people are calling it a demonstration. Lots of people are calling it a statement of support for the club. And I prefer to see it as that because obviously we all want, as James has already said, and Charlie very famously said about 6 weeks ago, we want Bond Group out, Bond Group want out, and the fans want him out. So Jason wants out. That's the intention, just to advertise that, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those where it's always hard to know exactly what the mechanics are behind the scenes and why things have moved at a certain pace. But obviously, it has been over 18 months, and it is frustrating that the move hasn't taken place yet. So I think the march is just about doing what we can as fans to make it known that the club is up for sale, showing our support for the club and the directors who are working really hard to keep things going behind the scenes and everything. So yeah, I think that's why a lot of fans felt they needed to have a bit of a voice on this, and as they should. It's sometimes as a fan you feel you stick up for your club and try to influence a positive outcome, and I think this is what this march is about. Meeting around 11:30. Around the Eric Morecambe statue, and then obviously heading down the promenade, turning left down towards down Regent Road, and heading towards the ground, finishing out outside the Hurley Flyer. And then I think the club have got a happy hour offer on now with 20% off drinks in JB's bar, which has obviously been more until 2:00, which is obviously
that's pretty good because I reckon that's you set up at 12 o'clock, you'll probably be there at about 25 to 1, so you've got plenty of time to get into
exactly. You'll be parched, fancy a drink, and what's not to like, eh? So
exactly, yeah.
I think that's kind of the message there. It's kind of statement of support and trying to push the fact that the club is up for sale, really.
Well, fingers crossed. It's a massive turnout. It'd be great if some of the local media actually covered it. Particularly the TV channels, because obviously we touched on it last week in the fact that Rochdale went into trouble and got an American buy within 8 days. And now Torquay have got somebody who's hook, line and sinker, hopefully going to get them out of trouble. So it doesn't take long if you've got, I think both of the people, that are taking over have been looking for clubs for quite a while. So they've obviously looked at us and decided no. But I had an interesting one earlier this week where somebody was pointing out that Dennis Bergkamp and Henrik Larsson and somebody else want to take over a club. But I was like, I read what they want to do, and they want Bergkamp as chairman, Henrik Larsson as head coach, and a couple of others to be the coaches. And I'm like, oh, I can see that working well here. Not for the reasons that Jordy was alluding to before we went live on air, and the fact that trying to play pretty football on our pitch in that wind is going to be fun in games, isn't it, Joel?
No, it'd be quite some, just you get a few things knocking about the press and stuff, and we've had all the Tyson Fury rumours that are going. A lot of it, it's hot air. I think with Torquay and Rochdale, I mean, I guess the fundamental fact is they're probably quite a lot cheaper than us at the moment. But look at some other clubs, Andy Holt's advertised that Accrington are for sale. I know he's generally cutting costs at the club, but that's been going on for months, and he said he's not had a single proper approach for it. So yeah, you don't know exactly how these things work, and I think that the March is just doing what we can as fans to try and get the news about the sale of the club out there.
And the usual question, James, there are people out there who are interested, but we've no further progress on that, have we?
No further progress, no. But as the conversation that we've just had has shown, with like somebody representing the trust, this podcast, a player, me, all here, and it wouldn't matter whether it was me, Coach, Rod, Graham, you, various of the representatives. There is something quite special about Morecambe. So for anybody who's looking to invest in the club, there is a march of support happening this Saturday. Not a protest because people are pissed off because they're not being told enough. It's a march of support happening, and the club is in fantastic nick. Does ridiculously well every single season with less resources than everybody else. The relationship between the fans and the board and the MFC women and the community and the players, it's as strong as it could possibly be. So if you were a buyer and you were sniffing around clubs at the moment and you're serious, you want to do it properly and not piss about, then this is the best club to buy. There's a real genuine collaboration and cooperation going on between everybody involved in it, and you'll get more for less at Morecambe. So I wholeheartedly support a march of support for the club. I hope people turn out. I hope people sing and shout and stuff. I hope people enjoy the happy hour when they eventually get the JBs. And I hope that anybody who's either listening to the podcast or seeing coverage of a march, or whatever else, thinks, you know what, that's worth taking a look at, because the Shrimps are probably more interesting than Accrington or any other club that's for sale at the moment, because we're just a better investment. It's quite nice to hear everybody talk about it from a different angle, because ultimately somebody should buy Morecambe and do great things with it because it's such a good club.
And on that note, that concludes this podcast. My thanks to yourself, James, for coming on and giving us the background on what's going on. Jordy, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for doing this. I always ask this as my last question. How did you get press ganged into this then? Did Matt just ask you, or did somebody in the dressing room try and twist your arm?
No, Matt came up to me today and just asked me if I wanted to do it, and I just said, yeah. Anything you need to be doing, whether it's podcast or meeting fans or whatever, I'm always up to it. So no, I've enjoyed it, and just listening to different parts of the club as well, and just meeting you guys as well, which has been good. So thank you for having me on.
You're right. You're very welcome. And like I say, take each game as it comes. No pressure Saturday, but hat-trick can be nice.
All right, then, no worries.
Right, this has been ShrimpNet. Thank you for listening. Turn up for the march, 11:30 Saturday. Otherwise, see you on the terraces against Wrexham, and hopefully a couple of good results against the Welsh Dragons, them and Newport. Oh, yeah, there's James's prediction there. 3 points. Oh, well, I hope you're right. Or were you saying hat-trick off Jordy there?
Both.
No, definitely no pressure. This has been ShrimpNet. Thanks for listening or watching. See you next week.